is actually great practice for me because I was very nervous. I'm actually very happy that there's a small audience. Okay, so as I'm talking, y'all feel free to ask questions. If you don't have anything very pressing, we'll just hold it till the end. We can have a little Q&A. But if you really feel pressed to say something, feel free. I don't want anyone to feel silenced. Okay, speculative world building, how to create positive futures and impact mental health. So I'm a science fiction filmmaker. I love speculative fiction. I am an optimistic futurist myself. So I am all about creating positive futures, unlike a lot of things out there in the media today. So we'll just get right into it. So this is basically, I made this for you guys to this is gonna take a turn, you're not gonna expect where it's going, but it's basically how you guys can get to know who you are more as an individual and remember your soul, and then learn how to project that into this reality using story. So that is what we're gonna talk about. So rule 1, do not do what everyone else is doing. There is a quote that I'm gonna have to look at my notes because I don't remember it. One second. Okay, there is a quote, good artists borrow and great artists steal. I do not agree with that quote whatsoever. I actually think that there can be new things, and how do you make new things? It is by being authentically yourself, which is what is starting to happen in society, and I'm very happy to see that. So, how do you not do what everyone else is doing? By being you. And as we go through this, you are going to see what I believe to be speculative fiction films. Most of them are optimistic, but they're all just really cool. So in the background, you see Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. I highly recommend watching that. So this might be simple, how to be yourself, but it is not that simple to many people. So we're going to go through some fun ways how to connect back with who you are. So number 1, as a storyteller, what are you, this is actually just in life, what are you passionate about? Do you like rollerblading? Do you like eating Oreos? Whatever you're passionate about in your life, you want to, in my opinion, infuse that into your story. What problems do you specifically want to solve? So instead of thinking what is interesting to an audience, I am here to say do not cater to the audience, cater to your own inner psyche, and that will specifically connect with people. So for instance, for me, I am adopted and I've dealt with drug addiction when I was a teenager. I also dealt with severe bullying as a female. So I write a lot of stories that solve the problems of, I felt disconnected from myself most of my life. I didn't feel like I was connected to any family. I felt like an alien because, what I thought was my real family was missing. And then when I reconnected with my birth family, I didn't feel 100% connected to them either because they did not raise me. So I like to write stories about feeling disconnected and how to connect. And I use that through science fiction and speculative fiction. But whatever problems you have in your life, I implore you to write about those because people need to hear those stories. We don't need the same shit that's in every single movie, which doesn't happen in every movie, but just some of them. Or, studios think that I'm gonna get in trouble, but what people want to see are analytics. We are not analytics, we are humans and we are souls. So using machines to predict our behavior is ridiculous. What kind of person do you want to help? I personally, once again, wanted to help little girls because I felt very insecure as a teenager. I was bullied a lot. I felt like there was no one coming to save me. So for you, you might think of a time back where you were in complete darkness. Write a movie for that person. Your unique perspective and the things that you struggle with are the soul of your story. That's kind of what I just said. It is also your unique purpose and what you write about. This is going to fill you with passion to get through the hard moments. Making movies is very hard. It's hard to sit down and write because there's so many distractions in life. But now that you know of the type of person you want to save and make your story for, that, for me at least, puts my butt in the chair, knowing that I can literally save someone's life by writing my stories. And everyone can do that. There's no one that can't. So yes, and no matter how fantastical your story is, it will guarantee that you speak to people's hearts and souls. Meaning, if you just focus on plot and the science fiction of it all, a lot of people get lost in the soul of the story. You don't even have to worry about that because organically, by thinking about these questions, you will write what you're supposed to write for your story. Okay. Also, how can you become more you? This is another movie in the background, Midnight Special. Highly recommend it. It's a really cool movie. Meditation. So if you have your own religious beliefs, totally don't have to listen to this. I'm just offering these things. This is also the movie Avatar, which is one of my favorite speculative fiction movies. There are some amazing ways to meditate to get more in touch with yourself. The Monroe Institute, are any of you familiar with the Monroe Institute? Okay, the Monroe Institute actually people from the CIA went there to study remote viewing, and they have something called the Gateway Project, which you learn to use your consciousness to travel to different states of realities. They have a meditation app that is amazing that I've used, and it's a great way to get back in touch with your creativity and yourself and your soul. There's also transcendental meditation. They have their own app now. David Lynch is someone who practices transcendental meditation. His movies are bonkers in a good way, and I think it really lends to great creativity. Gangaji, if you go on the Insight Timer app, this is a woman, basically, I'm okay saying this, when I was younger, I was obsessed with being famous, and I would make all my decisions to that end. Gangaji is a wonderful teacher who basically helped me see that I never should do things based on the outcome of being famous or being seen or for money, that it's more based, just do things to express yourself and your soul, and whatever's meant to happen will happen. So that was just someone who's very important on my path. Also on YouTube, you could find your own meditations, different frequencies. You could literally type in anything and find it. And then freestyle, make up your own meditation. Do whatever you want, basically. There's no rules in life. We're all just telling a story. Okay, next, to connect more with yourself, reading rare books. This one is one of my favorites. I feel like this is a lost art. Behind it, you'll also see the movie Reminiscence. I think I'm saying that right. It's a really cool movie. So I recommend going to the library or Amazon, reading Obtuse Philosophy. What I mean by that is I think his name is Paracelsus. He had some very interesting books in the 16 or 1700s. But just reading things different than what most normal people read are going to give you new, fresh ideas that will enhance your creativity. Also reading mythology from a remote country. I was reading a spiritual book called The Ringing Cedars from Russia, and it gave me all these crazy ideas for movies. I feel like most people would never come across that. So kind of, pick a country you like and read a weird spiritual book from there. The next one, Russian spirituality, yeah. Science fiction books from the 1600s. There is a book called The Blazing World, I believe. It was the first sci-fi book ever. I believe it was from the 1600s, and I wish I could tell you exactly what it was about, but it had to do, yes?
It's 1666.
Yes.
Margaret Cavendish.
Yes.
Yes, I've published on that. So
yes.
Yeah, it's about a woman literally a woman who was excluded from the Royal Society, even though she was a better scientist than most of the men who were accepted.
Yes.
She tells a story about traveling to another planet where she gets to build her own society, and it's very different.
It's gender fluid too.
Yeah, gender fluid. Relationships with the animal world and with other non-European peoples are much more peaceful and collaborative, and so it's the entire opposite of what you get with those colonial scientific narratives.
Yes, so stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we need a lot more of that now. Like the Victorian era was one of my favorite eras in history, and romanticism. I meant romanticism. But there's just so many interesting stories from then that I don't think were taught in schools, or maybe we are, who knows. Also books on non-local physics. This is one of my favorite. It kind of goes on fringe, but I don't really care because I believe that science is magic magic is science that hasn't been discovered yet or proved, but it's real. But yeah, books on non-local physics is kind of like theoretical physics. It's kind of about books about consciousness and how it's maybe outside of the brain. There's many different books on bioenergetics, biophysics, just a lot of these things you can apply to your stories and write about, anti-gravity propulsion or new technologies. there is a wealth of ideas for speculative fiction and optimistic futurism movies in books like this. I've been on this enough. So, another way to connect more with yourself to tell better stories is immersing yourself in this world. In the background, you'll see Castle in the Sky, very cool movie. So one of the most important things to being a creative is to actually live life. The movie Soul kind of talks about this. We can get obsessed with our hobbies and with what we're creating, and we forget to actually just relax for a second and be immersed in life like we were as children. And if you think back to childhood, you would do your art, you would have arts and crafts time, but a lot of the time would be spent playing. So to reconnect with playing, I think is very important as a creative. Society is not built for that, but you can build a reality that does lend itself to that. Doing things you loved as a kid, pottery, rollerblading, going to Six Flags, Disney, watching anime. I like to play The Sims. Just doing stuff like this will relax your brain and actually open you up to get new information. It might also influence your films. Being in nature, trying new foods or experiences. This one's really cool. I recommend once a month, maybe if you don't want to spend too much money, trying a new food place, something you would, go to downtown and go try new Taiwanese food, or just do something out of your comfort zone. A lot of amazing stories can come from that kind of stuff. Going to museums, there is so many awesome museums here. That is also great to learn from. Amusement parks, traveling's a big one. And following your intuition on where to go for the day. So I try to do this one Sunday a month. I have a flow day where I don't do anything on my to-do list and I just go wherever my mind takes me. Sometimes you can run into really cool people and have great synchronicities in your life that will also give you ideas for stories, which is why we're here. Okay. Does anyone have anything they want to say before I move forward, or we'll wait till end? I feel like we're good. Okay, great. Rule number 2 to world building, speculative fiction. Don't listen to the rules. So don't listen to anything I'm saying if it doesn't resonate with you, basically. But how do we do this in a cool and awesome way? So now we know who we are a little bit if we follow the steps I have laid out from rule number 1. So now we're going to go into the realm of imagination. Once you know who you are and you're connected with yourself, you can start connecting with that deeper world, your inner verse inside yourself, to really project those stories out. Let your imagination run free. Speculative fiction is perfect because instead of focusing, in my opinion, on genre and separation, you can focus on what is true to you. You can literally speculate on anything. That is what the genre is. Letting your soul speak, letting your imagination run wild. This is what will connect with audiences as well as inspire them. Would you rather go to the same state every summer or see new places? I think this question answers itself. Also, you'll see Fantastic Planet in the background, a very interesting movie. Obviously, we would like to see new places. People enjoy dopamine hits from new experiences and visiting new places. This just is telling you guys basically make movies about new shit and stop thinking we need to recreate the same old story structures. Create brand new worlds and archetypes, which I will get into. So, exciting. New worlds. This is the movie Strange Worlds. I think it's really cool. You guys should watch it if you haven't. So, a bit about world building now. I'll finally get into that. This is where I need my notes. Actually, we'll see if I don't need them, but okay, does anyone know what Solarpunk is? Yes, so researching these for world building is amazing wisdom and knowledge to put into your stories that a lot of people really haven't done yet in science fiction. Solarpunk is the aesthetics that are kind of like rooftop gardens, floating villages, clean energy transportation. It's anti-capitalist. It has a lot to do with optimistic futurism and community. I feel like sometimes actually the Japanese do it best. A lot of anime is very solarpunk. But what a lot of people don't know about is Lunarpunk and Starpunk. I think I made up Starpunk, I'm not sure. But Lunarpunk is basically the sibling to Starpunk. To Solarpunk. Lunarpunk is more where you bring in witchcraft and the occult, and the moon and the divine feminine, and you apply that to the future. What would a future look like more seeped into witchcraft and nature and occultism, but not in a dark way, almost in just like a natural, neutral, naturey, magical way. So those are just some things you can explore through Lunarpunk, like almost like futuristic witchcraft. And then Starpunk, I like to describe it as the metaphysical bridge between Solarpunk and Lunarpunk. So Starpunk takes the science of Solarpunk and the witchcraft and spirituality of Lunarpunk and kind of merges and bridges those. I call it the metaphysical star bridge. And it's more about, it's kind of like Age of Aquarius vibes. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's kind of about the innocence of a child and the wisdom of a grandfather all rolled into one. It's about new perspectives, new archetypes. It is where everything is a paradox. Things are more part of non-duality. It's multidimensional. If you were to make a movie in this realm, you might think, this is really cool, but if someone goes to a restaurant in the movie, maybe they're eating a tomato sandwich that's furry, just thinking of like senses in a different way. Maybe someone has a superpower where they can smell the future. These are just things to think about when you're in the world of Starpunk. So hopefully that made sense. Also, positive futures. Another way as a filmmaker or writer or whatever you want to do within this space, using new and unfamiliar sounds. This is mostly in movies. Using different frequencies, shamanic drumming, odd instruments, just thinking how you can kind of uplift your sound design to make it more optimistic, future-y. That's not a word, but also new architecture and design using sacred geometry, bright colors mixed with nature, neon, fractals, using new materials for your buildings. Look up 4 and 5 dimensional things. You can get so many ideas from everything I'm saying. I can't go into everything or this will be way too long of a talk. But just imagining worlds like that and making movies like that, that'd be so cool if Earth looked like that, so why not create new worlds that just look more interesting and let people be in, a cool, fun world for an hour and a half in a movie. Another really cool exercise I've done at night, actually, I don't know if I'm delusional or not, but I don't think it matters. Look in the sky, pick a star, close your eyes and visit there in your head. And what do you find? Who lives there? What colors does it have? What do these people look like? What are their special powers? Let this inspire you to create a new story. Also looking into new sciences, like the science of smell is actually really cool, and the science of ants and how they use their tendrils to smell. Just creating a story out of that and maybe applying, I think maybe they did that in Ant-Man already, but applying that to something like that. Just
but did they do it
sciences.
well?
Huh?
But did they do it well?
See, I don't think they did it in a solarpunk way. They did it in more of a cyberpunk way, which actually is a little bit more negative, and we won't get into that. But okay, and then different philosophies, learning, which I already went over, and make societies that have not been thought of before. Like, I don't know, this is gonna sound really weird, but like a society where their currency is cucumbers, or like, I don't know, just think about different things. We need to get way more creative, and people are smart enough to understand and like buy into the world. You don't need to say all the rules of the world before it starts. I know they say that, but we're smarter than most studios give us credit for. Okay, even in a solarpunk world, or optimistic future world, there is darkness, tension, and conflict, I believe. How do we deal with this in that kind of world? So yes, one caveat to building positive futures: darkness always grows out of them. Darkness is also what pushes us to evolve as a species. Examine your life. You will see patterns of miracles or periods of growth that came after dark times. I don't know about you, but always in my darkest moments, I have learned the most. And if I just had a life without pain or darkness, I probably wouldn't even be a creative. I probably wouldn't have strived to look into any of these things because I wouldn't have wanted to feel, I don't know, it would just be a very boring life. So darkness, I believe, is needed in a way. And how can you work that into your films? I don't think you even need to think about it. Because a lot of, teachers, and sorry if anyone is going to be mad at me, a lot of people try to teach people how to create tension and conflict. The thing is, it should come pretty naturally to you if you're just telling the truth. So I say, this fact of life can naturally create tension or conflict without forcing it. Let your narrative relationship with darkness and tension reflect life. Going back to, as I said, when I was talking about my addiction and being adopted and all this stuff, if I'm writing a story where I'm trying to solve problems of someone who feels disconnected from life or lonely, I don't need to think how I'm going to involve conflict or tension. It's going to naturally come. This can help with new ways of conflict which unfold without a predictable path. So that's another thing. If you really dive into just the truth of a story, you're going to create new structures because you're not following a path, and then that will be unpredictable for an audience, and they'll actually enjoy your film and see it as more of an experience than trying to guess when things are going to happen. Okay, let these blurbs inspire you when it comes to conflict and writing and story. Dark is light corrupted. Light is dark corrupted. Darkness is light inverted, and that some plants grow faster at night. New themes. So new themes in your speculative fiction stories. I always forget what some of these mean, so bear with me 1 second. So, highlighting specific or unknown mental health struggles, oppositional defiance disorder, complex PTSD is a big one that hasn't been highlighted a lot, and that actually links to autism. They actually present the same way. So I would love to see more movies because I've struggled with this my whole life. If I have some traits of autism, some traits of complex PTSD, I would love to see some more characters reflect that in the media and it not just be some random woman who's either hot or quirky and doesn't have much to her. Also people that struggle with alien hand syndrome. That is where you think your limbs are acting on their own without conscious control. I think there was a movie called Idle Hands about this back in the day. Also Alice in Wonderland syndrome. This is people that think things are smaller than they really are. I wrote autism in women. I can't pronounce this, but prosopagnosia. This is face blindness. So these are just things to think of to write into new stories. Then there's Cotard syndrome, believing that part of your body is missing, dying, dead, or does not exist. There's also, this one's my favorite for Solarpunk vibes, mirror touch synesthesia. This is basically, if you see me touching my arm, you'll feel it on your arm. And I actually have this, it's pretty weird. Also in your stories, highlighting new sensory experiences. So there's many types of synesthesia you could look into. There's sudden onset savant syndrome where, I think there's a movie with John Travolta about this, but basically I have a friend who has this. He got hit in the head. He literally woke up a genius and could see the world in like math and fractals. And then clairaudience is another sensory experience where people kind of channel and hear things, but they're not crazy. So I'd love to see more movies about that because I think that our humanity is awakening. So hopefully movies will start to reflect that more, that it's not a horror or scary. It's actually really cool. New story structures. This is the Black Panther, very actually Solarpunk. New script structures. So everyone knows about the hero's journey. Great, we've used that for so long. I think it's time for some new story structures. I'm not knocking that at all, by the way. I just think that's a very masculine story structure, which is great. We need that. Once again, I'm not trying to diminish anything. I just think we also need other sides of that. The heroine's journey, Maureen Murdoch wrote this book. She made this story structure. She actually trained under Joseph Campbell, and she felt that women had different journeys than men and wanted to reflect that in a structure. Thinking of that for your script writing is literally amazing. There's also something called storyality. It is it's making your script based on the golden ratio. I thought that was interesting. I'll show you guys that on the next slide. Also, just being intuitive, writing from your soul, letting the story structure itself. You can always sculpt it later if you do need to structure it, if you're like presenting it to a studio. But if you get the funding yourself and you're very lucky, which I could do a whole nother talk on how to get funding for movies, I think that you can do whatever the F you want. Throw your story, the way I work, you don't have to work this way, is I kind of just write what I want to write. I don't kind of think about it, and then I, make edits later. The world is craving something that they can feel, something subconscious, unconscious, even superconscious. So yeah, do new things. These are kind of what they look like. You'll obviously see the normal hero's journey. I'll read through the heroine's journey. Basically, it starts with the woman having separation from the feminine. In my case, because I was adopted, it would actually be my birth mom. But in many cases, when you're a baby, you're literally separated from your mom for I was for 3 days, which was a crazy story, but it happens. It also is, it's not just the feminine mother, it's the divine feminine and women being separated from their own intuition. This also happens with men. This is not just women, by the way. I'm just a woman, so I'm speaking on being a woman. Then identification with the masculine and gathering of allies. Women, see their father as a prince, or they, get crushes on boys at school, and they start to make friends. There's many ways to talk about it, but this is just how I am today. The road of trials, meeting ogres and dragons. Maybe you have a character who's starting to get bullied, who is dealing with some type of sexual abuse, which I think we need a lot more in film, because that's one of the biggest issues in America that's not in any films, and a source of a lot of people's trauma. Then let's say maybe, because for instance, I did go through that. I was obsessed with finding success and validation outside myself, because a lot of the things inside felt empty. So I was obsessed with being famous, finding success, only to figure out when you get some type of success or money, you feel dead inside still, because that doesn't feel anything. So the next step is awakening to feelings of spiritual aridity and death. Then that's when you really awaken, or at least I felt like I did. That's when you go into, not even as a woman, but just in the feminine story structure, initiation and descent to the goddess. There's a great story, The Descent of Inanna, that is all about the descent. I'm actually writing a movie about that. But it's basically just after you realize realities and what it seems, it's very normal to actually go through a very dark period in your 20s and 30s, even 40s, of what is life, what is meaning, who am I? I've been living half my life trying to be something for all these people, but what do I want for me? And this is a very normal period that is not shown too much in a lot of films. Then next is urgent yearning to reconnect with the feminine. This might be actually connecting back with your mother, birth family, with yourself, with the cosmic mother, with the matrix, whatever you want to call it, with your intuition, with your wild side, with your anger. A lot of us, I think especially women, do suppress their anger and judge their anger. So this is kind of an animalistic stage of getting back in touch with that. Healing the mother-daughter split. Obviously, we all secretly hate our moms in some way, so healing that. And then healing the wounded masculine, that's kind of self-explanatory. And then the integration of the masculine and the feminine in balance. So I kind of went on a tangent there, but that's that story structure if you're not familiar with it. And then the golden ratio structure, which you can look up. New archetypes. And this is a really cool movie, Chaos Walking, if you haven't seen it. Writing new characters. So having characters with complex personalities, with paradox, subtleties outside the norm. When you're writing characters, especially in speculative fiction, it's very important they reflect real life. Don't just write what you're taught to write or what you think a human's supposed to be. Write the truth of a human. They might have very contradicting qualities. I'm a perfectionist, but I'm also lazy. I don't know, think about yourself and how much you contradict. Make characters like that. That's what we need to show, so people won't watch movies and think there's something wrong with them, because the characters are just very one-dimensional. New archetypes. These are just ones I made up. The magical heretic. For instance, someone who goes against society but is very in touch with themselves and very magical and intuitive. The grounded airhead. I like to be called this one because I'm a triple air sign, but I've also throughout my life learned how to ground. Just writing a story about someone like that. The heroine, the late bloomer. You know, we need more stories about women in particular in their 30s and 40s finding themselves and, you know, living a whole new life. The Renaissance man or woman, a very multidimensional person. Also, not more non-binary and trans explorations that are not commercial. So more people who actually deal with this need to write stories to reflect themselves in a very authentic way, not just, you know, what the media wants us to think about someone. Like, I want to see someone's picturing a trans person that's just a person with problems there, like that. Real people with real experiences, futuristic but ancient. I don't know what I meant by that. We're on the last rule, don't worry, we're almost done. Okay, rule number 3. This is basically, if you're a storyteller, this is what everyone kind of leaves out. This is to take away with you so you can apply this in your real life. Now that you know who you are and you know a little bit more about new stories and the imagination, the 3rd rule is you need to put your work out there or else no one will ever know who you are. How do you do that? Here are some awesome quotes that have inspired me. Great spirits have always encountered violent opposition from mediocre minds. I don't know about y'all, but I was bullied my entire life, still to this day, because of my weird interests. And every time I remember this beautiful quote, and I laugh at the people that bully me inside. And I hope they feel better one day. Number 2, I don't know about the messenger, I know he's made mistakes in his life, but we're all human, but at least this is an amazing quote. You can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will connect somehow in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down and it has made all the difference in my life. Basically, this is just about you connecting with your intuition and not trying to control your entire life. I love this quote. Don't pay attention to the industry. Do your own thing, make your own industry, break open the form. I have that in my bedroom because I'm in the entertainment industry. I'm a filmmaker. I've had so many people try to get me to structure my stories in the hero's journey, try to get me to do things how they wanted, try to tell me how I'm gonna get funding and how I need to make characters and write for the audience, and they're all very miserable themselves. And I just have realized you're gonna get pushback. It may take 5 or 10, 15 years even to do things your way, but doing the things authentic to you as a storyteller, this is what we need more of to break the paradigm of what we have right now going on in Hollywood, where there's a specific amount of people, for the most part, controlling what stories come out. We can overtake this. We just really need to stick to our guns and the stories we want to tell, and we can't let people change our stories because that's just ridiculous. Building and harnessing your own community. This is very important. No one's going to hand you power. No one's going to come and rescue you. So how do you build an audience so that Hollywood comes to you, that you don't have to be desperate for them or try to change yourself to be accepted? This is where I think our future is going. So posting your opinions on Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and TikTok. I used to hate TikTok, but as I've been posting my opinions on there, I think the past 9 months, I got 90,000 followers in 9 months. And I realized that the key, what I've been scared of my whole life is speaking out about what I feel like is true, was the key to my following. So yeah, sometimes what you fear most is actually the key to your life. So if you're a creative and interested in maybe trying this out and being brave, I would choose one of those platforms and then recreate it on other platforms once you find what works. I literally posted 3 times a day, every day for 4 months and got no views, no comments. I felt like an utter loser. And then one thing went viral and then it just started going. And my content's no different. So don't let outer validation and you not getting that stop you from putting your work out there. If you keep going, eventually people will recognize you and you will find your exact audience. On my TikTok, I talk about plasma intelligence. I'm sure none of you know what that is. that has gotten me 90,000 followers. So I'm sure you have something more commercial than that even, but your unique interest will get your own audience. Consistency is king, posting every day. If you love it, if not, find something else and don't listen to anything I'm saying. Authenticity is key. Heart is the secret. Letting go is the mastery. When you post, never post for an audience or for validation or for views, because then you're gonna just turn into someone churning out content. Post what you really feel and don't worry about the outcome. And that's actually when I get the most views. And then I'm a human, and then I get obsessed about it, and then I lose views, and it's a whole thing. But this is what we should do. Networking. Trust me, I'm like most introverted extrovert. I go to events and I want to go home and crawl under my blanket because I feel so socially awkward. But it is something you need to do, in my opinion, if you want to put your work out there and be empowered. Go to events in your wheelhouse, like this. Add aligned people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where I found investors for my last movie. That is a treasure trove for wealthy people who actually want to help people and who are doing awesome things themselves. And LinkedIn is also where I've contacted people in the entertainment industry and been able to set up meetings with them, because they don't answer me they won't answer you usually on Instagram, even email, but for some reason LinkedIn has been great. Take the risk and be okay with no's. Just put yourself out there. I know it's cringe sometimes, but once again, you're putting yourself out there to gain your own, to gain people like you. If people don't like you, who cares? You're not looking for validation. You're putting yourself out there to put your creations out there and let whoever resonates with it come to you. I was gonna tell you a story. I don't really feel like it because I'm very parched, but basically the short version, there was a woman who wanted to work for Marvel. This is the way she put herself out there. She went on Fiverr, found someone who was really good at finding email addresses. They found I think it was like the CEO, the COO's email address. I think she emailed them like a bunch of times. And then they said, no, we're not looking for anyone. A year later, they remembered her and she got a job there. So my point is, just keep reaching out to people, and you could be resourceful. If you're feeling bad for yourself, I bet you haven't done everything you could do. That's all. Don't be good, be true. This is a rule I always follow in storytelling that maybe we aren't taught. I don't think it's about being good or great. I think mastery comes with time and a lot of failure. I know I should know who this basketball player is, but someone said, they fail. I think it may have been Michael Jordan, that he failed so many times and didn't make so many shots, and people, cared about the ones he made in. But the point is, he failed forward many times, and failing isn't real failure. It's moving towards success. So what really matters is being true and authentic to you, not worrying about being good, because you're not going to make the best stories that way. It's going to be all about your ego. Being brave, putting your work out there. I just said that. The good will happen as you master. I just said that. Let go of your work being perfect, or you will never publish your work. Which means that, and you're here on this earth to inspire people with your story. So if you're a perfectionist, it's not your business how good your work is. Your work is true, right? So you putting it out there is going to save someone, and I think you would hate to rob someone of that because you're being a perfectionist. Put your work out there, and eventually you'll get good at it, and that's it. Your art is meant to be shared and expressed, not hidden until it's amazing. Let people see your journey to greatness and be inspired by it. Let them see you fail, because who cares? Be great in your authenticity. You have been chosen to have your unique perspective. That is why you're literally here on earth. So trust your impulses. You do not have to control how your work touches people. That is not your business. Once you put your work out there, that is for them to mold and project off of, and then move on to your next thing. All you have control over is that you show up and finish your work. If you're the type of person like me who has 12 million ideas, it is a sign of maturity that I'm now realizing that I've never had to focus on one and finish it before the next. Because if you have a million and you're talking about all of them and not doing any of them, you're literally going nowhere, and it is part of your ego, which is hard for me to come to terms with. But yes, try to think of one that really is speaking to you and just finish it. Pure self-expression equals freedom. Remembering our why is very important as well. I need to sip of water, sorry. I'm almost done. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Okay. We all want to be successful. We all want our art to be seen and to be understood. We must remember true art reflects, and each person will see themselves in it in a different way. Someone will always hate you, someone will always love you as an artist. You cannot take either of those to heart. You are not doing this for validation, you are doing this purely to express yourself. And if you're not, you may want to think about that. Your why will get you through the hard times. I kind of went over that. My why was to help people connect with themselves and the power of the universe so they don't feel so alone. Your why can be anything. When it starts to be about success or money, I think at least you lose your North Star. Let that be the cherry on top of your life, not what drives you to do things. Yeah. Letting go of the importance of the outcome. Oh, this is a big one I actually struggle with that I wanted to share. Thinking our story could change the world, which it could, will put way too much pressure on you while you're writing it. So while you're writing your story, think about the quotes I'm about to say. Sometimes big audience, I don't know, sorry, just keep going. Okay, I'm just gonna get into the quotes. So, this is one of my favorites. I don't think about art when I'm working, I try to think about life. Don't worry about the outcome when you're writing your story, just be immersed in it. Easier said than done, I know. Train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose. Basically, if you fear your story won't do well, or if you fear you won't be successful, what if that happens? So what? Like, you have to face those fears and meet them to be able to succeed, in my opinion. And once you let go of everything is usually when you get everything. This is just an interesting quote that inspired me. I don't really know why, but I think it's from a video game. You reap what you sow, Artyom. Force answers force, war breeds war, death only brings more death. To break this vicious cycle, one must do more than just act without any thought or doubt. And you can kind of take your own meaning from this, but I basically think, obviously, what we put out there will come back to us, and this is why it's very important to make optimistic futurism movies and speculative fiction. And then I'm done. If you want to follow me on Instagram, this is my Instagram, and then my TikTok, where I talk about the metaphysics of plasma intelligence, which might inspire you in future science fiction stories. You can follow me on TikTok. The end.